What's good, everybody? My name is Nate, and today I'm pretty excited to start off with a new series of films I'll be reviewing. So, the year is 2001. When flip phones were cool, DVDs were everywhere, Paul Walker was becoming a movie star, and Vin Diesel was established himself as one of Hollywood's biggest action stars. And apparently, the city of Los Angeles have decided, you know what this city needs? Race cars. That's right, ladies and gentlemen. Today I am finally diving into this most requested franchise people have been wanting me to review, and that's the Fast and the Furious. Now, when people hear Fast and Furious today, they probably think of the gigantic action sequences, the espionage of crazy international travel, the impossible car stunts, and Dominic Toretto's story somehow turning every problem into a speech about family. And honestly, it works surprisingly well. So buckle up. Actually, don't do anything dangerous to you, all my viewers who are watching this video. Just sit comfortably in your nice seat of chairs, or you're probably chilling at your work break right now at work, because we're about to dive into the Fast and the Furious, so I'm really excited to break this down. So without further ado, let's get started. So the year is 2001. The Fast and the Furious franchise wasn't even the 10th movie in a massive series. There was no gigantic MCU, there was no superheroes, there wasn't even a character jumping from car to moving submarine or whatever the latter movies decided to that was reasonable Tuesday afternoon. This was just the beginning. The Fast and Furious has a pretty straightforward premise. We follow Brian O'Connor as an undercover police officer investigating a series of high-speed truck hijackings, but his investigation leads him towards Dominic Toretto's crew. He's friends with Dom, he becomes involved in the racing community. He gets closer to Dom's sister Mia, and eventually Brian has to decide where his loyalties really belong. The police or the crew he's established. So let's start off with Brian O'Connor himself. So he's played by the late Paul Walker, and Brian O'Connor is a character that brings us to this world. And I think Paul Walker is one of the reasons the franchise works. He's inexperienced in this environment, he's trying to prove himself, and he constantly walks into the line of doing his job and becoming part of Dominic Toretto's racing world. I really love the performance, how Paul Walker does for his role. It really does see how much of a real character he tries to be, and it's really fantastic. At the beginning of the movie, he's focused on the investigation, but as the film continues on, the people he's investigating stop feeling like suspects and start feeling like actual friends. And that's where the story gets pretty interesting. Because Brian just keeps asking, can I catch these guys? But he's really asking, do I actually want to catch these guys? That's what he's thinking in his head right now for every time he's with the group. And then another character we have is Dominic Toretto, who is played brilliantly by actor Vin Diesel. Dom is, well, you know Dom. For the very first movie, you can see the foundation of the character that will eventually become one of the leading figures in the entire franchise. He is tough, confident, and very protective of his friends and family. And he takes the cars at a very serious level. You can see that Diesel understands what kind of character he's playing. And the chemistry between him and Walker is one of the movie's strongest elements. Because if Brian and Dom don't work together, the entire movie would fall apart. But they do. Their friendship evolves gradually. And that's what makes the conflict hit harder. The supporting cast of this movie is also pretty interesting. We've got Michelle Rodriguez, who plays Dom's wife Letty. And I really like how Letty feels like she belongs in this world. She doesn't just stand around while the guys do everything. She's confident, tough, and competitive, and has a relationship with Dom that gives us another look at his personality. And then there's Mia Toretto, who is played brilliantly by actress Jordana Brewster. Now, Mia is basically the emotional bridge between Brian and Dom. She is basically Dom's sister, but also becomes someone Brian generally cares about. And also we got the rest of the crew, Jesse, Vince, and Leon. Everybody brings their own personality to the group, and that's just what makes part of the Fast and Furious franchise pretty good from its early start. these people are just racing. They have like different personalities, how they affect other people. And that's what I really like from the starting point of this franchise. Now, the biggest reason people want to see this movie is the cars. Because this movie has an insane boatload of cars. The filmmakers put a huge amount of effort making the cars visually invincible. You can tell which characters drive in the cars. The cars are just transportation. They're part of the characters' identities and the personalities. And I really do love like the way the cars look. It just matches like the vibes and how what the characters have and their distinct personalities and what they have inside their heads. And it's really fantastic to see of how much they're willing to do this. The action in this movie holds up pretty well. The racing sequences have great energy. The movie really does understand this isn't about speed. It's about doing something really quickly. And the tension is like who's going to win, who's going to lose, and what's going to happen next. And the sequences are pretty great, especially like the opening drift race scene, like between Brian and Dom, and like always like everything. It's just fantastic how the visuals and the film studio went for this. Now here's why I think the movie deserves more credit. Underneath all the cars, it's about trust. Brian is undercover. Dom doesn't know the full truth about Brian, and Brian doesn't understand Dom completely, and he always knows Brian's secret. Whenever Brian gets closer to Dom's crew, we the audience are thinking this question: how long can he keep going? And it's only a matter of time before someone else finds out. Now the villain of this movie is actually pretty good. We have Johnny Tran, who is played by actor Rick Yoon, and he's positioned as a major rival to Dom. And while I don't think he's one of the strongest villains in the franchise, he served his purpose. Johnny represents the other side of the world. He's dangerous, aggressive, and he's connected to a larger mystery surrounding the hijackings. But if I'm being completely honest with you guys, I don't think the villain makes this movie memorable. The characters are Brian, Dom, Mia, Letty, and that's where the film gets its emotional weight. Later on in the movie, Brian's secret is officially revealed that he's a cop, and Dom's crew is involved in the investigation. That creates a huge conflict to everyone. Brian has to make a choice. Does he pulverize his job, or does he protects the people he's come to care about? And that's where the movie's friendship becomes really important. Brian entered this world as an undercover officer, but by the end, he becomes part of the group. And that's really great, makes the emotional tension really well. And by the end of the movie, Brian and Dom have their last race together. It isn't just about winning, it's about everything that happened between them. Their rivalry, friendship, betrayal, and trust. Everything comes together. And Brian ultimately makes a decision that changes his relationship with Dom forever. It's not the gigantic spectacle that later Fast and Furious movies would become. It was fairly simple, and that's why the movie works so well. The emotional stakes matter more than the size of the explosion. And when the movie ends with Brian unnecessarily becoming a fugitive from the life he's supposed to be protecting, and you're left thinking, okay, where do we go from here? Which is exactly a good question to ask, because that after that first movie would branch off into like many other movies that I'll review on my channel. So, did this movie age well? Well, the cast, the chemistry, and the atmosphere, and the characters, and the scale. And I really do love how we get a first like grounded take for this franchise instead of like the whole crazy global thing we see in the later movies. While the CGI isn't as groundbreaking as interesting as we see, but this was like the early 2000s, and CGI has gone away beyond from this point. And I really love the music and the characters are fantastic. The storyline is just so groundbreaking, and I really love how like this franchise establishes itself. Why did this movie become a franchise that eventually grew to one of Hollywood's biggest action series? Because the foundation's right here. You have cars, action, friendship, family, a strong ensemble, and charismatic cars. And most importantly, you have characters that audiences actually want to follow and care for. Thankfully, this movie became a huge success, earning more than $200 million worldwide on a reported $38 million budget. Even though critics are divided, audiences pretty much found something they really like, and Universal will continue to grow this franchise for many years to come. Now, I am pretty a little scared myself into the Fast and Furious franchise. I am a little bit of excited to review the rest of the movies as much as you guys want me to. Because just to let you know, guys, this is the first of a multi-part series where I'll be reviewing the different Fast and Furious franchises before Fast Forever in 2028. So I'm pretty excited to doing this entire series. Now, even though the Fast and Furious doesn't hold up to many audiences, it still provides a great anchor point to start off things strong. I'm pretty excited to continue on reviewing this franchise to you all. But anyways, what do you guys think of the Fast and Furious? And let me know down in the comments below. But anywho, thanks for watching. Make sure you guys give a like, comment, subscribe, and let me know down below. What is your favorite part of that movie? And are you excited to review the Fast and Furious sequels? But until then, this is Nate Reviews, signing off, and have a good day.